All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Today is January 11th, 2022. This is episode number 138. And today we're going to be taking a look at trait number 61. We're going to take a look at trait number 61 in quality one, and we're going to be exploring finding your inner truth. That's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Glad you're all here. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Shelley.
Hello, everyone. It's fascinating that we're back to finding our inner truth again already. Feels like we were just here.
Exactly.
This time last year? What?
And can you already believe it's the 11th? We're almost 2 weeks into 2022 already. So quite a crazy time. So welcome everyone. And Linda's not going to be able to join us today. So this is the crew. And again, if you have 61, if you have something that you want to share, if you want to step up and be a part of our panel, we welcome you to do that as well. So let's dive in to the 61 finding your inner truth. And again, with January, I messed this up last week. With January, it's the pressure to fight, to rise up and connect with our own inner truth, to accept the past and to start new with the dreams of what is socially needed in the new year. So that's what this month is all about. One of the things that you will notice about January is it is very pressurized. If you take a look at drive and stamina, you can see all of the traits that are defined in drive and stamina. And there's one trait right here in the 61, that is mental pressure, right? So we have the physical pressure to survive, and we have in this week and this week coming up, today and this week, we have the mental pressure. So it is the mental pressure to find our own inner truth. So last week we did take a look at the fighter, right? The stubbornness that can overcome odds. We took a look at ambition. We took a look at that ambition to rise up. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the inner truth. This is also mystery. And this is the potential of inner truth is also silence as well. Then next week, we'll take a look at acceptance, right? The pulsing pressure to mutate. We'll take a look at the dreamer, which is about contraction. This is patience is a great virtue. And when we enter into the 41, that's what actually starts off the new year. Right. So when we enter into 41 is the start codon. We enter into trait 41 on the 21st. It may be the 22nd, depending on where you live, but typically the 21st. And at that time is really when the new year begins. So we've been saying, welcome to 2022. And really, once we get to the dreamer in the 41, that's when it really truly is the new year. So notice it says patience is a great virtue. So really waiting, right? Completing the past, taking a look at how we want to step forward into 2022 before that actually happens. So that happens in the dreamer in the 41. And then we also have social needs in the 19. This is wanting. This is the source that drives all revolutions. So again, we can see that January, again, we still have that purpose fulfilled through transformation. It is the pressure to transform. The other thing I just wanted to point out, if we take a look what grounds our inner truth, we'll notice that it's the 62. The 62 is all about details. So we're grounding our inner truth in looking at and exploring the details. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper in anything that I just took a look at, we actually do have 2 programs. We have this workshop. We're halfway through the workshop, but you can still join in and catch up. We do have a workshop, which is the 5 stages to enter into the new year correctly. It's the first time that we've offered it. It's been really amazing and very eye-opening. I've been going through the whole process myself as I've been delivering it, and it's been very, very powerful. So you still have the opportunity to join in if you want to take advantage of that. And again, if you go to the BG5 Business Institute website and you go to special programs, you'll find that workshop of the 5 stages to enter into the new year correctly. Also, this Thursday, we have a year-long mini course, which is about navigating through 2022. Now, this is going to be a very transformative year. So this is a year-long program. We're going to kick it off on Thursday, taking a look at the big picture and what's in store for us throughout the entire year. Then throughout the entire year, we're going to do check-ins to see where we're at, taking a look at what the environment is, taking a look at what's changing, because this, I believe, is a major, major year for transition, for change, for revolution, for acceptance, right? For really tapping into our own uniqueness. This is going to be a very powerful year. And so if you want support in moving through, it can also be a bit chaotic as well. So we'll see there's some chaos, some crisis coming up as well. So if you want to have, in a sense, sort of tuning into what the weather is, I know for myself personally, this has really grounded me in the last couple of years with all the craziness, knowing what to expect, right? Knowing what the background frequency is, recognizing that it's not personal, and recognizing how I get affected, and also being able to disconnect and being able to see it from a broader perspective, to be able to take it all in without taking it so personally, so that we can see this unfold. It's an exciting time to be alive, but it can also be terrifying as well, because it's major, major, major changes. And again, we've seen that over the past couple of years. And like I said, I don't think it's going to calm down in the next couple of years coming up either. So knowing how to adapt and thrive as things are shifting and changing, and what we're used to and things that we got familiar with and that are comfortable are being taken away or changing or transforming. So this is a powerful course to really support everyone in moving through and being able to recognize what those changes are. So invite you to join us. So that is on Thursday. All right. So I wanted to put that in there because I think, like I said, I think it's important to know what's coming up so that you can also prepare for it as well. All right. So let's take a look at this week's theme. So this week's theme is all about inner truth. And inner truth is the mystery, and it's the potential of inner truth in silence. So it's the awareness of the universal underlying principles. It's individual, right? This is also, when we take a look at the 61, we also take a look at this in OC 16, where this is, in a sense, where new ideas are birthed for a business, right? For an organization, for a larger group of individuals, right? It's here in the 61. So it's this awareness of underlying universal principles that bring forth this inspiration. And it's the pressure to know. And it's the pressure to know the absolute truth and the mysteries of life, and to resolve the individual tension to know. It's all about I know or not. And that's part of the problem too, is because it can be, I don't know, 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 until suddenly you know. And knowing can move you towards deeper levels of self-acceptance. Right, so really learning to love, trust, and accept yourself through this inner truth. And spending time musing when you know you have a unique insight, and then waiting for the right time to express it. So again, this is a trait that needs to be recognized and invited for it to land properly, right? So it's spending your time musing. Again, it's not there, it's not there, it's not there, and suddenly it's there, right? And when you know, but when you don't know, you have to be with the not knowing, right? And being with the not knowing until you know. And then it can be a quantum leap. But it's all about timing. And again, waiting for the right timing to express it. And when your knowing inspires, empowers, or changes others, you also feel empowered, right? So this is all individual. So this is all about empowerment. And this is inspiration. So this is inspiration that empowers others. And since in silence in the now, when all the dialogue stops and the inner knowing reveals itself in its own unique time. So sometimes, right, we're so busy and there's so much chatter and there's so much going on. Sometimes just to get to that inner truth, we need silence. So one of the things for this week too is also taking a look at where you can pause and where you can have some silence to really get in touch with what that inner truth is all about. That's the 61. So I would love to hear from our panel. Also, anyone who is attending live in our Zoom room, if you have the 61 or have experiences with the 61, or can feel that mental pressure of the 61 right now, would love to hear from you. So let's start with our panel. Would you like to start, Shelley?
Yeah, just looking at this, and I don't have anything to find in my open inspirational center. So this is all, I recognize this. I see it in other people. I was just checking a few family members' charts. Our oldest son has this unconsciously, and my husband has the 24 on the other side. So the two of them often work together, bringing inspirational ideas into form. We were just meeting earlier today, and I was watching that play out, because I know that he often is, I don't know, and I can watch him trying to process things and saying, he can feel there's something coming, and then it's just the next time you talk to him, it's landed, and he's got this amazing insight to share that's really a great idea that spurs us on to do things in our family business. So it's I was just watching this morning, and I sit back and just let it all flow through because I'm completely open there. So yeah, it does inspire me, and I know what the mental chatter is like, that being completely open and just watching and listening to things coming and going. I've had that experience all of my life, and sometimes it's hard to get it quiet in there. But I do this, knowing my design has really helped let go of a lot of the mind chatter that was there. And yes, now it's mostly just the, paying attention to what does show up in a different way.
Yep, exactly. And one of the things that we'll notice also, today and through the rest of this week, we do have the 6124. So not only do we have the 61, right? We have the 25 or the 24, right? In quality 4 in unusualness or uniqueness as well. So again, it's going to be an exaggerated pressure, if you will, that pressure to know. So especially like Shelley was saying, if you don't have that defined, I also don't have either of those traits defined, you'll feel a little bit more of that mental pressure, which can at times feel really uncomfortable as well. Yeah, exactly. And Babs is saying the pressure to know the absolute truth and the mysteries of life is huge in my life right now. The pressure is intense, and I'm trying to process how I feel and get a handle on it. I need better tools to ease that pressure. Exactly. And one of the things is the first, I guess, tool and there's many tools to relieve the pressure, but one of the tools is simply that recognition that pressure is there, right? So if we recognize that the pressure is affecting us, just like you're seeing, Babs, seeing that pressure affect us and allowing the pressure to be there without having to act. Because oftentimes when we feel pressure, right, and this is going to be true throughout the month of January, because we have the physical pressure as well as the mental pressure, there's a pressure to act, or a pressure to like get rid of the pressure. And it takes something to just allow the pressure to be there without having to act. Yeah. So really, really great observations, Bab. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, Anna.
Yeah, I don't have the 61, but I have the 24 in my unconscious son. So, and my kids have the 61. So there's this very interesting way we play on those subjects. You know, there's a lot of interest in higher knowledge, let's say, not just mental knowledge. But it's interesting to see the difference in how they operate with it. One of my kids is like, I know all this stuff, I know. And it's the shadow part, you know, trying to know stuff in a way that's too formulated, too much of an answer, universal answer. And yet the truth will come out naturally, given a little time to process it. My other kid just doesn't know, is always saying, I don't know. Mom, I can't answer that question. You know, I don't know what the next step is. And it's like, okay, fine. Let's just let it be. So it's really interesting to see both angles of that one process. The other thing I wanted to say is this, you know, what is truth question is the very question that everybody's trying to deal with the 61, you know, why the universe is the way it is, what is truth, all of that stuff. And as I understand truth, it's more of a state than content. That it's an energy. And when, you know, when you talk about silence, most of us go to some religious or spiritual element to sort of be with the 61, discover it. And almost every religious practice has some kind of silence or spacious, what, you know, thing. You go into retreat, or you pray, or you're quiet or something. And so that element of silence is really important, but that pressure, especially if you have a defined root, you got pressure from both sides. It's really easy to be busy and you can't quiet your mind. But people automatically know, I mean, years and years of working with other people in their dilemmas, there's this moment where people just go, oh, you know, where there's no, it's an energy, it's a frequency, it's not content anymore, it's not an explanation, it's not a why or when or how or any of it. All that monkey mind busyness just sort of falls away. And, you know, to that process of finding your inner truth, it's not in words, it's in your frequency, in your spaciousness.
Yes, beautifully said. Beautifully said. It looks like Shelley, you have your mind is.
Yeah. I love how you phrase things, Anna. Yeah, you just helped me remember a lot of things. I've been studying the mysteries of life my entire life, and have been feeling the pressure to know and to understand. And I think the reason I feel so calm about that now is because I have BG5 and it answers so many questions for me that I'm happy playing with this in this this sort of frequency of truth that I've found that's resonating with me. And I think you're bang on to something there. It's our truth is only our own truth. I've often played mediator between people who are taking one position or the other. and being open in my mind, I can see all sides. I can see all the aspects and all the other shades of gray in between. And a lot of times I would utilize that to help stretch people to see things from a different point of view. Because it's really easy, especially if the mind's defined, to get in, to have only one way of thinking about things. And so, and oftentimes I'm also seen as, you know, with my head in the clouds. Well, that's not true. How can that possibly be true? To me, something I learned really early on is, and from a fellow who was the pilot for the Maharishi. This was when I was 19 years old, and he was the one that started me on my quest of opening my mind and releasing some conditioning. He said there is no right or wrong, good or bad. Everything just is. Everything else is what we attach meaning to it. So everything else is just how we're choosing to look at that thing. And I know that's sometimes hard for some people to get, but everything really is just, it just exists. And it's how we interact with it, how we relate to it, that gives it any kind of meaning. And so therefore the truth is really only for each of us. And it's whatever truth we find in things for ourselves. So this concept of inner truth and that inner knowing and that epiphany that comes when you do let go, when you let all the processing just be and sit with it, and the silence comes. And I mean, and they know this even in learning now, that if you're trying really hard to focus on something to figure it out, if you stop and go do something else completely unrelated, it'll come to you. And I think giving ourselves that opportunity to let the mind rest and be at peace by distracting it with something else, or meditation, prayer, whatever it is that allows you to let go. Our mind is so tapped in if we let it be. We often get in our own way trying to make things be the way we think they should be, or try to force things to happen to be a certain way, or, you know, prove that this thing is true because I did this experiment and it proves it. I have a really hard time with that, because I think that's just one experiment with a set of parameters that you focused on. There is every other thing that you didn't think about that's also at play. And so I have fun playing in this playground of all the possibilities.
I love it. I love it. Really beautifully said, Shelley. And that's why a lot of inspirations happen in the shower, right? You're distracted, you're doing something else, and you have these epiphanies. I've heard a lot of people I've recently had some epiphanies that happen in the shower, because again, you're not focused on trying to find the answer. And it's almost like when you let go of trying to find the answer, when you let go of all of the details and you just allow it to be, you know, boom, that's where that inspiration arises.
Also, I love what you both said, because, you know, people talk about being in the zone, you know, whether you're a musician, a writer, even a scientist, I mean, you know, whatever zone you're in, there's this fluid element that happens, and everybody knows what that is, whatever the name they use. But it's that element where you're not trying, you're not thinking anymore. And we need to think, we like to think, you know, we like to pursue all that mental activity, but there's a difference between intellect and intelligence. And you know, the true intelligence is where that aha comes from. You notice, you're so in the moment of something that the intelligence can filter through. You know, when you're throwing a baseball or writing a sentence or whatever, but the energy can arrive, you know, and give you the information. So that zone is usually from sort of the silence going on in your mind. You're distracted or you're doing something else, and that space allows something to come into it.
Yeah, beautifully said. Exactly. And Anna, you have if we take a look at how you're affected when you're connected, right? If you have in a sense, the shadow of the 61 when you don't have the 61, especially if you have the 24 on the other side. And so the shadow of the 61 is the lack of inspiring mysteries to solve. So the question is, do you feel ignorant because you simply don't know? Or do you experience a lot of mental pressure to find a new mystery to solve? So you may often feel ignorant in the experience and experience mental anxiety that you will never know the answer and that the inspiration will never come, or that won't be able to explain your knowing. And you may find yourself under pressure to make mental decisions looking for the next inspiring mystery to solve. Again, the solution, especially if you have this as something that is a bridging trait, you are designed to work with others who can provide the mental inspiration you seek to help you turn inspiration into a rational concept, which is what the 24 is all about, which can eventually be communicated to others. So I was wondering, Anna, how this shows up for you and if you can relate to this.
I can relate to all of it. And more. I would say as a very young person, I knew things. I experienced things at very deep level. And I would say, I had very mystical experiences that I would never have used that word for back then. So I knew things that other people didn't know, and I didn't know how to say it. And most of the time it was totally irrelevant. People weren't speaking in a way that I could even get in the conversation. So I kept things kind of simple in what I would say or do or whatever. And then as I got older, and also in school, I had a lot of learning. They didn't know about dyslexia and all that stuff when I was in grade school. So I was terrified about taking tests. I couldn't prove I knew what I knew in that context. And that was the beginning. As I got older, in high school and college, I veered into more physical learning, rather than conceptual, hands-on learning, all that kind of stuff. So then I could start to explain and start to have metaphors. This is why I love gardening so much, is it explains so much that I don't have to explain, but it's a segue into higher mysteries, depending on where you want to go with it. So over the years, I learned that it wasn't that I didn't know these mysteries. I was actually very familiar with them. I didn't know how to articulate it. And then as I discovered more and more about design, especially, because I spent years working with people, body work and psychotherapy. And this is really what we did, was touch in this area of naming things you couldn't name, or experiencing things at a much deeper level than just the mental content or the emotional expression, but that zone around those things. So I discovered that I had a whole area that I could begin with the 24, to actually use the 24 to start rationalizing or applying it or beginning to fill that out. And especially being an innovator, I realized I had to voice this element and play with the 61, have more engagement with the 61 directly with people that had the 61. Then that would give me a better way to use the energy that I knew about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, beautiful example. Yeah. Anything for you, Shelley, that you would like to add?
Yeah, I think some of what Anna's talked about, it has made me realize too that I don't have the 61, but my husband has the 24. And it just brought up conversations that we have continually where I have this knowing, like you were talking about, Anna, just knowing these mysteries, knowing intuitively, instinctively, or having that deeper knowing, but not being able to put it in words. And so when I start to talk to him about what I'm trying to get at, he's usually pressing me for the rational, logical description of them. And it helps me be able to fine tune my wording so that I can, more clearly think about and articulate what it is that knowing is about. So, before I understood what was happening, it just felt like he was constantly pinning me down. That's not logical. That can't be. Where now I understand what's going on. He helps me rationalize the nebulous thoughts that I have. So it can work that way as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah.
It does feel like pressure at the time, but it's also helpful.
Exactly. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Well, let's take a look at this week's quality as well. So today's quality is actually in trait 1, and that is occult knowledge. And again, whenever we see quality 1, that is the authority. So the elevation is the pressure to know the mysteries through esoterics and the natural psychic awareness that empowers principles of universalization. We also have the challenge where the pressure to know the mysteries can be so strong that one can eventually be incapable of handling esoteric realities, where a resilience on secret knowledge increasingly demands the aesthetic withdrawal, which leads eventually to obscurity. So it's interesting. We have the 61 actually currently in the era of planning. It's not in quality 1. It's currently in quality 6. So there is, in a sense, sort of this, or actually, no, it is in quality 1. What am I talking about? It is in quality 1 right now in the background frequency, if you will, of the era of planning. We are in quality 1. So there is kind of this element of occult knowledge that is present, that we're trying to understand, that we're trying to tune into, that we're trying to connect to. It is what we, in a sense, sort of listen for. What we're moving into in the future moves into the 54 in the era of the individual, and taking a look at what we listen for is connections. What we listen for is who can help us through our ambition. So right now, again, we are currently, this is part of the current background frequency as well in the era of planning that we're also moving away from as well. So I find that quite interesting also. So anything, Anna or Shelley, that you want to bring forth around this inner truth of occult knowledge?
Well, I just want to address the word occult because it has a lot of heavy weight of the woo-woo kind of stuff. And yes, there's all kinds of practices and mysteries and all that kind of stuff. But if you broaden it to sometimes the knowledge is beyond our physical senses and extends into our extra senses. And I spent years teaching people how to use those extrasensory perceptions, which to me were still in a zone of physical, you could tell the vibration or the energy through your body. But sometimes we don't know how to assess or get feedback from energies that are way far out from us. But they're still there, and people have different levels of their radar. So this word of occult is not necessarily limited to rituals and shadow or soft sciences and things like that. It's more what our senses can take in, how we perceive things. And it's all true. It's all, whatever we perceive is what's coming at us. I had a really fascinating experience over the holidays. My precious little kitty friend passed away.
Hmm.
And I was with her through the whole process for about 8 weeks before she passed. And I knew she was probably going to go that night. And so I was just next to her. And I mean, of course, it was very emotional for me personally and my kids and stuff. But it was also a wonderful observation of this whole realm of mysteries. Like, where the hell did she go? How does this work? This is just astounding to see this process of how someone begins to leave their body, because she did it slow enough that I could observe it. And I've witnessed passings, a lot of passings previously, but I was just aware of that final moment when she disconnected body and spirit. And there was this distinct energy between those two, where we live in the physical world and where we live beyond that physical world. It isn't explainable. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It is sacred. All this occult and sacred and religious and scientific knowledge is quite sacred, but we get too busy with trying to explain it. But when you're there, you're just simply there with it, it's quite astounding.
Yeah, really beautifully said, Anna. And I think that's a really good point. We can have a negative connotation about what occult knowledge is all about. But if we take a look at if we take a look at what's beyond that, it's understanding those mysteries, just like exactly what you explained, Anna, really getting into, what is those things that we can't explain. And, just as a passing, and what is the soul, and all of those things that, again, can be very, very sacred as well. So again, just don't get caught up on the word itself. Really take a look at what that underlying meaning is. And again, this is the foundation. So it is those mysteries that are sort of beyond that are difficult to understand, that we're looking for the knowing and the understanding there. I'm so glad you brought that up, Anna, and really beautiful example. I'm sorry for your kitty, but it sounds like it was a very beautiful thing. Yeah.
It was a very gracious passing. Yeah. Not without effort, but still gracious.
Yeah. Anything, Shelley, you would like to add?
A few things come to mind. I love that you brought this up, and it was jumping out at me as well. And I love your beautiful explanation of it. And to me, it's the things that we are able to experience that we can't put words to, and that our minds have been trained or conditioned to believe if they're scary and unknowable, there's something wrong with them. That it's too scary to go there. And I believe that there's an opening up in this area in general now. Science is starting to look at what is the nature of consciousness. As you mentioned, it seems like over time, if you think back, so many different peoples on the planet over time have gained wisdom in these arts, these areas. And as we've evolved, we've tended to replace science with some of those ancient wisdoms. And I think that's just a way for us to reduce our fears around what we think is there. It's, again, the mind getting in the way and thinking, well, if we can know this for sure, if we can prove this in some way, it must be real. When I'm hoping that that's what's part of what's shifting here as we all come to find our own inner truth, is that I think of us as these filters that are experiencing everything around us that's just being filtered through us. And it's really our unique perspective of what we're experiencing that builds what our truths are. And it's what's true for you is and that contains everything from all the ways you take in information through all your senses, but also, and like Anna was saying, I learned how to work with energy as well and sense and feel energy around me. And it's when people are young, kids often can do this automatically, and we train it out of them because we don't understand it. We don't know how to talk about it. But more and more people are learning to expand their senses so they can pay attention to all those ways in which we're connected. You're thinking about somebody for quite a while, and all of a sudden they'll send you a text or they call you. It happens with my family all the time, and I know it happens for other people. Well, that isn't such a strange thing. It isn't really woo-woo. There is now science proving at the quantum level how some of that stuff works. And somehow we're a little more comfortable when we can tangibly see it, feel it, touch it, taste it, know it. It helps us be less afraid of it, I guess. So
yeah,
it's so taking the fear out of what this really is and recognizing that it's us expanding our awareness into other areas that we're becoming more aware of now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah. So this is the 61. This is the inner truth. This is the foundation of this occult knowledge. And Moxie is here to join us today as well. All right. Last piece, taking a look at the celebrity and the life work theme. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, has trait 61 in quality 1 as his life work theme. And the life work theme is the material world. So isn't it interesting that we have this occult knowledge, right? Is what trait 1 is all about. And yet, if we take a look at the life work theme, it really is about the material world. And if you take a look at what Amazon is, it's, selling things in the material world. So you are an inspiring and inspired thinker who must use your mind in service to others in order to avoid going mad by trying to know the unknowable. You are looking for the universal truths in facts and details to resolve the questions of life and death. Now, I know people have varying thoughts and feelings about Jeff Bezos, but again, just taking a look at, again, what his life work theme is. Again, he's an American entrepreneur, a media puppeteer, and an investor, a computer engineer, a commercial astronaut, apparently as well. And he's the founder and the executive chairman of Amazon, who's previously served as the president and CEO, and whose net worth is around 196 billion as of January 2022. And apparently he is the second wealthiest person in the world, according to Bloomberg's Billionaires Index, and the third wealthiest person, according to Forbes. So again, taking a look at a celebrity, a well-known person who has this as their life work theme.
This is pretty cool. I mean, I haven't seen his chart. That's amazing. I mean, given what all he's done, I didn't realize all that openness, but that's also profit potential. But when we were talking earlier about the 61 being grounded into 62, it says right here, you're looking at the details. I mean, Amazon is all about logistics. It's about the details, getting the numbers straight, getting the addresses straight, getting the distribution straight, all of that. It's all detail, really, about how to get this product to that person. But he had to have that overview. He had to have that sensibility to understand how to ground into the details to get all that to work. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating too to contemplate. My brain's still kind of working on this, that the 61 one is about the material world, that it's about bringing stuff into form, because it feels so disconnected way up here. It's inspirational. It's not connected to any action centers. So I'm thinking, how fascinating is that our inner truth is really here to help us in the material world.
Yeah.
Some connection there that's trying to make itself known to me.
Yes. Exactly.
Just find that fascinating.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the fact that he has to do it for other people, the fact that his focus is on serving other people through Amazon. Yes, he's making billions of dollars too, but he is providing a really great service that most of the world is coming to rely on, and has figured out those methods to the details of how to do that really well, creating that model for a global community to understand how that work gets done in a really great way. I know there's things about how that happens that need work. I think people have brought that to his attention. So, but yeah, that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And it started with books. When you talk about he's an inspiring and inspired thinker.
Yeah.
Books originally, were the way we transferred information, thinking, inspiration, all of that, learning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It seems so long ago now.
Exactly. Yeah. Fascinating stuff. All right. Well, if there's anyone else who wants to share, we're going to wrap everything up. So if there's any last things that anyone would like to share, whether on Facebook Live or live in our Zoom room, type that in. Again, if you are new to BG5, you want to find out, do you have the 61? You can go to our website at bg5businessinstitute.com and you can download your free personalized charts. Again, you can subscribe to the Trait of the Day to see what those traits are as we move through them. You can also watch past episodes of our BG5 Live on YouTube or also in our free resource library. And again, our courses are starting this week. So we actually have courses that you can attend the first class live. So we have the BG5 certification course. We have the BG5 foundation course that you can check out. So go to our website, go to the courses. You can go to education, either find the foundation course or the certification course. You can attend the first class free. Check it out, see if it's for you. It's a great way to get started and to really understand what this information is all about. So invite you to get involved in the classes starting in January. So starting this week, actually. All right, let's wrap everything up. So I would love to hear from our panel. And if there is anyone else who has any inspired words of wisdom that you would like to share with us, we'd love to read them, or if you want to step up and speak it, you can do that as well. But I would love to hear, now that we've moved into the 61, what are some things that people should be aware of or pay attention to this week? Will you kick us off, Anna?
Yeah. I would, again, I'm always interested in musing, and sort of witnessing, just seeing what happens. I would just sort of be alert or aware of not just being inspired, but what that is in your energy. Usually inspiration is an elevation of some kind. Your energy elevates no matter what conflicts or challenges or joys or whatever is all going on. It doesn't have a mental content. It has more of an elevating energy, even while other things are going on. So I would just muse on this quality of when you feel inspired, what is the energy of that? How do you live with that? How does that how does that affect your physical being? Because that's where our frequency really lives. And that's what inspiration really is when you elevate that frequency, even a little tiny bit.
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Yeah, thank you. How about for you, Shelley?
Wow, yeah, that's that sort of connecting in then with, again, all kind of comes back to sort of surrendering to now, and which allows you to really tap into that silence. I would say you may want to just spend some time finding a place or way that you can be in silence to just really focus on looking or feeling your awareness expand. Like when you're in silence, so often we've got so many thoughts running in our minds that it distracts us so much from just what's here right now. And walking or meditating or whatever practice you have that gives you that space, that ability to expand your awareness brings a real fullness to what's true for you. And like Anna was saying, allowing those, even if you're raising your vibration just a little bit, you're tapping into a different frequency, a different band of signal that's out there that we may not always get in when our brain's sending out static communication. So I would just and also what comes to mind is it's very acoustic too, right? Is listening to what's coming up for you, just focusing on internally, what are you hearing yourself talk about? What are you hearing yourself in the shower? What epiphanies are you having? Finding those spaces and times to really be able to listen for your inner truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So spending time in that silence, spending time taking a look at and asking yourself, what is my inner truth? Right? It's part of the exercise that we're doing in those 5 stages of entering into the new year. This is really a time to reflect and take a look at, what's possible in the new year, right? What do I love? What do I want to bring in more? And what do I want to let go of? So allow yourself to muse, right? And that pressure is going to be there. There's the pressure to start things, the mental pressure of having to have the answers, and just recognizing that mental pressure, just allowing it to be there, allowing yourself to be in the silence of it and see what arises. All right. Well, excellent. It has been amazing. Thank you to our panel. Thank you, each and every one of you who is here live in our Zoom room, as well as all of you who are watching via Facebook, as well as watching the recording. It has been our absolute pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you all next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.